Doc, good morning. How are you?
Come on, guys. It's a Victory Tuesday.
That's
How
true.
am I doing?
Yeah, let me play the
Doing
music
great.
for you. Let me play the music for you, Doc. There we go. Let's
There
go.
Old times, brother. Old times.
So how are you feeling about that matchup? And then obviously a huge game in Seattle this week. It's one we were talking about this yesterday, Doc. If they're going to make a legit playoff run, and mathematically they're just on the outside, but they're going to have to steal a couple against some good teams with at least 5 wins. Seattle is one of those teams. If everyone stays healthy, those games against Dallas and San Francisco and Miami, and those are going to be very difficult. But this is one of those games you kind of have to steal, but Seattle just got embarrassed last week. You probably don't want to play them in their house after they get embarrassed.
And you're absolutely right about everything. The difference is these guys, you're in a competition. You've not shown yet that you can put back-to-back-to-back success together. So you got to use a long plane ride to your advantage. I've always found whenever you go out to Pacific Northwest, you really get a chance to go over your mental game plan. You have meetings on the plane. And I just find that it really helps you get focused. And they need to be focused because there's got to be a reason why they're up and down. And so if they can stay up and just continue to do the little things over and over and over, you got to pull it together. If not, you're Jekyll and Hyde, and that's just not good.
What did you like about the Patriot game? What jumped out at you the most?
The fact that we won it, we finished it, got it done. Despite, and the fact that Howell was able to have an awful moment and not let it tear him up. When you got to be able to fail and blink and just keep rolling. Because all the great ones have had moments to where you just go, wow, but they don't let it define them. And I thought Forbes did the same thing. Whenever you can bounce back, that's a great sign, especially for young players. So, you're growing these guys at a pace that they have to dictate what the pace is that they can handle. So I was excited about it. I mean, nothing pleases me more than to see what happens if you give them a little time. Well, he showed you. The game plan, I thought, was just it was money. And we're getting different people stepping up, which shows the expansion of your roster. So Pringle, we're always, we talk radio business. So if something doesn't work one day, we cry about it. How about Pringle? Good pick. They did bring some people over that have actually made the transition, and they're doing a good job. Crowder. Unbelievable asset. So I think we got to look for the small steps, and I'll take it. And we won because all that playing well and getting your ass kicked does not count in the NFL.
Well, the offensive line's been a lot better since they swapped out Gates for Larson. Why do you think that is? Ron says one of the reasons is he's just a bigger guy.
Well, that's, I was screaming to the planet. When you're that big, you don't get bull rushed. Your quarterback, he's under 6'2". Every inch matters. This guy doesn't get bum rushed. I think he also, as a veteran, can identify the defense, and that would help a young quarterback. So it's a 2-for-1. And then Chris Paul, just, plug and play. Big, aggressive freak. And that's what you need. We got to match up with people. I talk about that alien element. Well, we got some guys. They just got to do it on demand. And so far, so good.
Doc, you mentioned Forbes. He bounced back. Martin made a big play with the pick at the end, and they're going to have their hands full this weekend with that receiving core out in Seattle. And I'm hoping that Jack has learned his lesson that he's not going to put Forbes out on an island, especially with a guy like DK Metcalf, to have a huge game against him. You got to give the young guy some help if he's drawing any sort of coverage on Metcalf and Lockett.
Yeah, well, I posed that question to Fred Smoot last night, and I said, when you're a corner and you're undersized and you got one of these aliens you're going against, which he did with Brown, they said, well, this kid's no Brown. First of all, he's not Brown. And he's more of a straight-ahead guy. He kind of telegraphs his game plan, and I agree with him. Brown is just that's as good as it gets. So he should have a fare better with him, but I also agree with you. How about a little help? But even more so than help, more games up front, a little bit more heat. We got to get more heat on the quarterback. And this is a guy that's going to be where you think he's going to be. he's not going to be running all over the place. So not a bad matchup. It's always rough going out there. But, excuse me, because the crowd is freakish, and you can't get lulled to sleep with the long flight. I'll say it over and over and over. You got to maximize that time, because very seldom are any young men with money just focused on one thing. You got all things going on in your life, but that long flight, you can turn that into an asset.
So one thing I expected to see, having moved on from Chase and Montez, was a similar game plan to years past when we didn't have those guys, and I felt like Jack would bring extra guys to compensate, because as much as we like Tuhill and James Fitzwilliams and those other guys, they're not the freaks that Chase and Montez can be. And I felt like in years past, Jack has kind of thought, okay, I don't have my 4 1s up front. I'm going to have to actually bring more pressure from other guys. He didn't really do that, though, on Sunday. Maybe this week he'll do that, you think?
That's a good point. I don't think they were as afraid of New England.
Right.
In terms of saying we can do this. And plus, it was the first week. It's not like they haven't played without those guys before.
Right.
That's how we know about Tuhill.
Right.
And Smith Williams, because they played so much. Because the other guys weren't there for whatever reason. But, yeah, it did feel a little awkward. But then I go, if we just don't give up chunk plays, gives us a chance to win. And the way our kid was throwing the ball, I mean, you just didn't want to mess that up. But I felt the same way you did during the game.
Mm-hmm. We need to bring more guys. We need to get more pressure
I feel
somehow.
like that. Don't always mean until they get beat over the top.
Yeah.
And then we'll say, why don't we go run more zone? You can't win unless you win the game.
Hey,
If
as
you
an
win the
aside,
game, then you're a genius.
Doc, as an aside, we were talking about Chase Young and his comments he made in San Francisco, whatever, and then we got into a little speculation. And what's your take? Because you've talked to fans the last couple of years while Chase Young has been here. Is your sense that when he returns to D.C., which is going to be New Year's Eve, in a 49ers uniform, that he'll be cheered for or booed?
I think he'll be cheered. It's not the easiest thing to play in your hometown for all players. I mean, I just think it, and especially if you don't win and you're not successful and you've opened the door of controversy by comments. So I think the people love to boo. The sad part in our society is that there are a lot of people that would rather boo than cheer when they wake up. So it's just, and they'll take the bait. If you take the bait, then yeah, you may get a reaction. I could care less. Again, stay focused. Hopefully our team will be focused on trying to beat them and not worrying about somebody that's not contributing anything to your current team.
Well, somebody who was cheering and not booing was former commander Montez Sweat when he put his name on a 4-year, $98 million contract extension with the Bears. So clearly the Commanders weren't willing to pay him that sort of money, but he found a team that is going to pay him that sort of money. So good for him.
Yes, man, I mean, that was, man, what a unbelievable. I'm so happy for him. And if the Bears, again, but it's the Bears. So you ask yourself, do you think it was a great business decision on their part? How can you tell? They're a train wreck organization. I'm sure glad we didn't. We don't need to pay anybody that kind of money with the results that we get. The riches should come after you. You just have to be more successful on game day. That's part of the problem here. We've been passing out candy in last place. And until you change that, nothing will change.
Doc, I assume, like pretty much every Commanders fan, you're kind of horrified by the roughing penalty against KJ. What can be done to avoid that in the future? It looked like a perfect play to me.
It was unbelievable. I said, other than New Orleans, who got robbed in that game, I think it was against the Rams, that's the worst call I've seen in the fact there was no malice, no bad intentions, textbook tackle.
Right.
And you take away a turnover. But again, you're going to be disrespected. You think you're going to get a call in New England? And I said it, and I truly believe this. They're human beings, guys in stripes. What do you think they think about Washington off the record when they're talking to their boys? They're hanging out, having beers. And when you don't gain the respect across the board, you get snubbed at the Hall of Famers. Your guys, they discount you. You don't get respect. until you earn it by beating the crap out of everybody that comes in your building and doing it in a certain way, and eventually, it'll turn. Because once upon a time you had it. But if you expect to get calls now on the road against playing the GOAT, nah, not at all.
What do you make of Sam's been pretty good at distributing the ball to a bunch of guys. What do you have, 9 different guys that touched the ball?
I think that's
caught
right,
the ball from him last week.
Yep.
A lot of people try to say that he doesn't process things quickly. I think that belies that. The fact that he's out there distributing the ball to everybody, how can you say that?
Well, the guy who said that is probably sitting on the couch stuffing the face with the pizza.
Uh-huh.
I mean, just again, we're in the business of fantasy, man. People can call up and say anything. What matters is that you know how hard it is, 32 teams. There's only 11 quarterbacks in this league that I would fight for. This is professional football. In the NHL, okay, how many rotten netminders are there? Everybody's number one's a 1. This is unbelievable how deficient the position is. So when you get a guy like this that has this much promise and upside, for God's sakes, protect him and just keep giving him options. And they're growing. He and Eric, it's a new program for him. That's why if he could just stay on course and keep this relationship going, I mean, you might have hit the jackpot, maybe. But then again, in one game, he got down in the red zone, and he just, makes a big one, but it doesn't define him. He's able to erase it and come back and hit you with a dagger. That's what really excited me. And, most impressed I've been with him since I've seen him.
Doc, you was talking about quarterbacks and how different the league is now than when you were playing, right?
Yep.
When, there was 17, 18, 19, maybe more legit number one quarterbacks back in the day. And those guys would play every week. And you saw how many quarterbacks played last year. If Tommy DeVito plays this weekend for the Giants against Dallas, he's a rookie, he would become the 10th rookie starting quarterback in the NFL this year. That would set an NFL record. Think about that. If DeVito plays this week, that would be 10 rookie starting quarterbacks, and we're only halfway through the season.
That's a hell of a point. I was looking at the Vikings and looking at that game, and a guy, we had it here too. I think the kid Walker was here, and he got here like on a Thursday and started on Sunday, and we won. The key is we won. I think we were down in, might have been Carolina, and that the Vikings won. You want to see a team that has a spirit. I don't know how talented or whatever. The Vikings. The Vikings. Just watch them. You see people, and in Kirk, it would have been his best year. But their defense was terrible. And they come in, Flores comes in. I thought he got railroaded. But they're fixing it. And they don't have the most talent. You don't have to have the most talent. But everybody got to be rowing in the right direction. Everybody's got to be sound and sealed on whatever the game plan is. The Vikings display that. And I think we're moving in that direction. That's what you're looking for. We got to win 3 or so in a row. You got to get cranked up to where this is not like, oh, my God, they won. But, no, they won again.
Do you have a prediction? Do you have a prediction, Doc?
We have to win.
Yeah, you do.
We have to win.
He doesn't like to make the predictions.
Well, no. I'm just saying that because I think that we're as good as Seattle because they just got punked by the Ravens. I know, you're gonna get their best shot now. People in this league know you can't lose back-to-back weeks. And Carroll, it's gonna be personal, and they're just a tough-minded team like the Ravens. So I kind of know their personality. We're developing one, and I can't bet on that. I just gotta hope they pull it off and we win by 1.
All right, Doc. Great as always. We'll talk to you again
Thank
next
you,
week.
brothers.